least story. You know, the global pandemic, if you remember, COVID-19 may have come and gone with its attendant troubles, but back home in Nigeria, it's a tale of the absurd as the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has reportedly discovered that about 10 billion naira meant for development of vaccines is in a ministry's account long after the pandemic is gone. Even more distressing is the discovery of 100 million naira slated for the Wi-Fi that was lodged in an employee's account. For us here, the offense has been committed. Suspects, I reckon, are known. Bringing them back to book is the next thing we await. Jamil.
The IMF provided $3.4 billion for Nigeria
to fight the pandemic.
To fight the pandemic. I mean, that's the way IMF did for most countries, and I think Nigeria was in the forefront of the fight against COVID with Lagos.
Given our population.
Yeah, no. Apart from that, it was from Nigeria, especially Lagos, that they discovered that people stand the risk of dying. More people stand the risk of dying if you put them in ventilators. It was from Lagos that they discovered that. Before then, they were just putting people in ventilators abroad, and they were just dying like So, but they were able to learn that. So IMF focused on Nigeria, released $3.4 billion. What did people do with it? Out of the $3.4 billion, $10 billion was taken away from the office of the Accountant General of the Federation and kept in a ministry. This money, this $10 billion, was meant to develop vaccines to fight COVID. This money, normally what they do is they move this money and keep it somewhere. COVID has gone, but thank God for the Professor Owasonye-led ICPC. He was the one that started this investigation and discovered that after COVID, now said, what is this 10 billion doing here? And it's now directed that this 10 billion, normally when it is discovered like that, the normal procedure is for that money to be returned to the recoverables account of the ICPC. If it is EFCC, then you return it to EFCC's coffers, who now takes it back to central bank. But what did they do? For safekeeping. What did they do? They quietly returned the money back to the office of the Accountant General of the Federation, which is very wrong. The culprits who were involved in this are still going out freely, nothing done. As if that's not enough, another 100 million naira. I don't know the kind of Wi-Fi you want to do with 100 million naira. And the worst part of it is the fact that this 100 million was paid into a personal account. This is against all standing rules of the TSA, and that's what happened at the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. That heads are still rolling now. So these kind of things with TSA, with all the checks and balances that has been put in place, you discover that how can 10 billion just move? This was meant for a particular purpose, vaccine development. So if you know the workings of the ministries and government, you can't take the money that is meant to buy this cup to buy a biro. They have different heads. The money that is meant to buy camera, you can't use it to buy air condition. So the money that is meant to buy, to purchase for vaccine development, to go to vaccine development, but they diverted it and kept it somewhere.
Mayor, but I'm sure you have not forgotten the case of 1,000 CCTVs fashioned for Abuja.
For $600 million.
And the one for Lagos.
$600 million.
Okay.
Just went down the drain. You see,
and nobody.
But no, let me say one thing. In America, they say that if you are not ready for the time, don't do the crime.
Yeah. I like the rhythm.
What it means is that there must be consequences for actions. If there are no consequences for actions, people will do it again
over and over again.
Yeah.
The problem we have in Nigeria is that we pay lip service to fighting corruption. But are we really fighting corruption? Even governors that were found to have corrupted themselves or their office and were sentenced to jail were pardoned by the last president. 2 of such governors were pardoned. And then the problem is that an average person look at it and believe that we'll do it, nothing will happen. Because a lot of other people have done it and nothing happened. In China, corruption, official corruption, is very low because the repercussion is very high.
Yeah.
Death penalty.
But you know, in Japan,
death penalty.
You better not be caught because you must commit harakiri.
They will tell you you must commit suicide.
Yes.
If you are caught. In China, it is death sentence. In fact,
a bullet to the head.
I remember that the equivalent of our own NAFDAC, a gentleman that was heading their own equivalent of
MDA,
NAFDAC, gave approval for a company to do baby food. Unfortunately for them, they did a fake baby food that killed a lot of kids. In the course of investigation, they realized that, the approval was given to that company, and the guy collected $50,000. Just $50,000, and some people will just use it to dash somebody. The guy collected only $50,000. He was sentenced to death. But our problem is that we play lip service, and Nigerian elites know that time and time again, they will do this thing and they will get away with it.
That's it. That's where the problem is.
That's where the problem is.
Yeah. Sorry, Jamiu, do you remember a former New York state governor in America? The flamboyant Mario Cuomo. He said politicians will campaign in prose and rule in poetry. So, and prose and poetry are 2 different things. So it's here. But since we hardly punish bad behavior, now this is one particular case, and Nigerians are interested.
Or rather the punishment for bad behavior is so mild that people are even encouraged to do it. Look at the case of a former Accountant General of the Federation or a former director in PENCOM who took 26 billion and was asked to pay 750,000 naira. He gave them 1 million naira.
He was just opening from his boots.
Yes, he gave them 1 million. He said they should keep the change.
Back pocket.
Yes,
somebody who stole 26 billion. But the penalty is a fine of 750,000.
But the world is watching us.
So people will be encouraged, and you see, you find it very sad when an hungry man or one poor fellow steals maybe 10 naira, and they send him to 27 years in jail.
or steals a telephone.
Or steals a telephone and is awaiting trial for 15 years. So, in fact, in some places they will tell you, make sure you steal enough and budget for
lawyers
to be able to defend you. Yes. Because this 10 million, if not for ICPC, imagine how much would have been stashed away and kept in some...
No, they will just wait for some time.
Yes, now.
That's what they do.
COVID is over.
And at that time, I think South Africa also wanted to do... So Nigeria were excited about doing our own vaccines and all that. And some people collected the money, didn't bother to do anything, put it in one ministry.
Didn't do jack.
And then they have this habit of paying money into people's accounts. That's one of the things they did in that humanitarian ministry, and they use it to siphon so much money.
Yeah.
And they will tell us, they've distributed they distributed so billion to vulnerable Nigerians. And you wonder, who are the people that you paid it to? So, like I said, it is important for us to know that there must be consequences for crime.
Bad behavior.
Or bad behavior.
Yes.
If there are not enough consequences, people will do it. An average human being, if he knows he can get away with something, he will do it.
But I'm reminded in this connection of the statement of the late Attorney General of the United States. The brother was the president, JFK, Robert Kennedy.
Robert Kennedy.
He said, any country deserves the kind of law enforcement it practices, it promotes.
Absolutely.
Because
that's
so we deserve it?
Yeah, we deserve what is going on. Every country gets the government they deserve.
Yes.
That is right. So what is happening is not a miracle. That is what we deserve. That's who we are. That's the reality. That's who we are. Because you will see that somebody will appropriate to himself our collective patrimony. And you will see people from his area defending him and saying, no, there is persecution.
Or you hear a crazy thing like, now lay him.
That it is when our son got there now that they would now try to push him out and are saying he has done this. But it is important for us to look at our statuses and make sure there are consequences for bad behavior. That is when we can discourage people from doing what they are doing. Because every day, people steal the kind of money you hear, and you are amazed, why will anybody want to steal that kind of money?
No. Are you surprised? Jamil, do you remember a former British Prime Minister, David Cameron? He said something like, the type of money stolen in Nigeria.
Yes, he did.
If it happened in the UK would have gone down. And he added the
which was very embarrassing at that time. He did. And he was a serving prime minister.
He said, very embarrassing.
He said, Nigeria is fantastically corrupt.
Oh, that's corrupt, yes.
Yeah. we are fantastically corrupt.
But we are rich, but we are fantastically corrupt.
Yes, we
are. Somebody did an investigation, discovered that Nigeria had $64 billion stashed somewhere. A private investigator and approached a former president of this country that we have this money, so place. Let us go after this money. These are the people who kept the money there. The moment they mentioned those names, said they should forget about it.
Ew.
So
you saw this in a film?
Which film?
In real life. I want to be sure.
The man granted an interview and he said this.
Mayor, you are listening.
It's still very much. It's still very much.
We don't even need to discuss that. Let's look at.
You know how much that has been recovered after Abacha.
Let's take a quote from Abacha. Abacha was the head of state of this country, and several billions have been recovered from different accounts, and we are still collecting money long after it's gone. Imagine that level of, and it's not possible that it is all the accounts that they are still discovering more loot. And that is the way we are. People steal the kind of money they don't need and they don't care because they know that there are no consequences.
No, Mayor, that's
what I'm saying. Governors that were jailed, only very few governors were jailed.
Mayor, no, have you forgotten that this was after the government sat with the family and negotiated?
Yes, not only the family. Yes, they negotiated with the family and negotiated with Bagudu. The now Minister for National Planning. Yeah, he was the first person that negotiated. He was the one that told them where these things are. Yeah, and they negotiated. In fact, recently he had a case in American court where they are still want to negotiate with him now to release some funds for him. One of the ones that was given to him. Nigeria is just a show.
So when we see things like this, some of us are not surprised because people do these kind of things. Nothing happens. The Beta Edu saga happened what month? And I think it happened last year.
Late last year.
Yes.
We are in July now. We are still investigating. And Nigerians are asking questions. But what people will say is, they will soon forget about it. And life will go on. I don't think
I'm enamored at this point to repeat what Mr. President told the Arewa team that went to visit him. He said, any minister that messes around, I will kick him or her.
Of course, she has been kicked, but there should be consequences
It's good to hear that, yes. Yeah, it's good to hear that. In fact, the president had an opportunity to write his name in gold. Because, heck, apart from the second term, he really has nothing to lose. If he can write his name in gold and make sure that he clean it up. Because corruption is one of the major parts, and we are the home of corruption in Nigeria is an NPC. Nothing has been done there. Every day you hear stories, ridiculous stories. Now they were floating some stories that, fuel is scarce because Nigeria is owing about 6 billion the payments on fuel and all that. We're always hearing stories. Even when we claim that we are not paying subsidy, every time we're hearing stories. So, but it's important for somebody to show courage to say, look, I will not accept business as usual. Things must be done properly. I'm not saying they should do it the way the EFCC is doing it, though, because EFCC, that's another story. Those ones are just, their chairman is saying one thing. The operatives are saying the operatives are just using it to reach themselves and just doing something and embarrassing the man. So I'm not talking about the EFCC style of doing things, but things should be done properly. People should know that there are consequences for bad behavior. We must stop people from, even if you can do that, that will help us a lot, because the amount of money that moves out from the official covers into private pockets is unbelievable.
A lot of people are looking forward to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
All right.
A lot of people. And like Mayor said, the NNPC, for example, in December, they told us they have reached mechanical conclusion of that refinery. This is July. Not even diesel or kerosene.
They've been saying that for 2 years.
After spending $1.5 billion on turnaround maintenance. It's unacceptable.
That story.
Something must happen.
Gentlemen, we must go. But we won't do that without thanking first Mayor Akikbelu. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure being here.
No less so, Majid Jamiu. Many thanks for your
intervention.
Yeah, thanks. And that will just about do it for the show for today.